Hey, what's up, Ward Wrestling Live? Welcome back, and it's Friday already. Holy moly, we're on Friday. That's great. I'm here with another amazing wrestling mind in our country, coming from a big-time wrestling family. His dad, his brother, him, they're all involved in wrestling at some level. And this is Dr. Cody Gessel. He's a Category 1 UWW Mat official, USWOA committee member. He's the officials mentor and mentee program. He consults for MWC, and his curriculum vitae is 4 pages long, so I couldn't read it all on here. But he definitely comes with a lot of knowledge. Dr. Cody Gessel, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I'm absolutely honored to have someone of your level on here. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. It's a pleasure to be on here. I like what you've been doing. I like your platform. I like how you've invited several different sort of folks within the wrestling world to participate in your podcast here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was the goal when I started. Was I didn't see anybody expanding out to everyone. It was just kind of certain niches. Now, of course, we see there's a lot of people expanding out to everyone. And I think that I don't think I changed the world. I think it's just happened that a lot of people are home now, and that's the people they used to pick up the phone and call their buddies. Now they're like, let's just do it on Zoom Live. And we're
sure.
buddies now. And that's good, because the more the merrier. As you know, the more people that see wrestling and see names like yourself and everyone that's involved in it, the more popular I think it'll become, and the more kids will say, you know, who knows? I want to be like Dr. Cody Gessel. I want to be like the lady wrestler. I want to be like the kid that's wrestling at the youth. So you never know. But again, man, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for the kind words and coming on. But I know first things first, the elephant in the room has been the effects of COVID. Some people say, you know, okay, I'm strict, I'm scared, I'm staying in. Some people think it's been blown out of proportion. A lot of people are right down the middle and just doing what they're supposed to do. How has it affected the reffing world and your world? And what's your opinion on what we see for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so I'll preface it with this. I am an epidemiologist down at the Marshfield Clinic Research Institute. We're a pretty big clinical system up here or health system up in the north central Wisconsin area and western Wisconsin. A lot of our research staff have come from Madison, Mayo Clinic and whatnot. But my department is in charge. We get a lot of funding from CDC for regards to flu surveillance. And anyways, when the pandemic started, our flu surveillance staff had to switch over to doing the COVID-19 work, and they've been working their butts off. But we just got, I believe, $22.5 million to continue our COVID work. I have a proposal in right now, and I'm pretty positive that it's going to get funded. Looking at the rates of diabetes and cardiovascular disease and lifestyle behaviors in those patients that may test positive for COVID-19. We have several different hypotheses. I won't go through them, but COVID-19 has definitely been interesting, partly because there's a lot of unknowns, and it can affect healthy people. It can affect immunocompromised or people that have weakened immune systems just as equally. So as much as I'd like to say that there's good science behind it right now, there's also some bad science. But I think people need to be aware and conscious of all the protocols that need to be in place so that you don't spread it as much. You're seeing what it's doing, with professional baseball, and that's a big thing. But for wrestling right now, it's hard for me to say what's going on. I saw out at Western States that they had face shields and masks and everything, and electronic whistles trying to do their part. Now, I just gotten back a couple weeks ago from Legends of Gold in their Midwest duels that Terry Pack and Nick Simmons put on. And we had a looser restrictions, but every day Coach Pack was, contacting CDC to make sure, hey, are we following the guidelines? One of the things that I occasionally help out with the USWA, maybe there might be some data analysis or whatnot. We had sent out a survey earlier this spring, and I helped Sam Julian with the analysis of what kind of procedures and protocols should be recommended. And tale of two extremes. There were some people that didn't fear it, and there was people that this is the worst thing in the world. We have to do these sorts of protocols. As we move forward, it's going to be interesting to see, how long are we going to do temperature checks? Are we going to do symptom checks every morning at these multi-day events? That's up to the CDC of those areas that are hosting these tournaments. So I think it's relevant that tournament directors have a good relationship with their public health departments so that they know, hey, this is what's going on, and this is the steps that we need to take so that we can continue to have these tournaments. Nothing is worse than starting a tournament and then all of a sudden you got to shut it down because of COVID-19. So, and I felt a little weird when the pandemic started here in Wisconsin. I support all sports, but the girls' state basketball tournament started, and I watched Thursday and Friday's action, and then all of a sudden they stopped the tournament right before the finals, and they never even had the finals. Oh. It just gave me a weird feeling as a viewer, just because I'm like, if this would happen with wrestling, like how would that make me feel? You kind of want to see a tournament start and end, right? So I think it's relevant though that, we take the steps, necessary protocols, as far as cleaning, sanitation, to make sure everybody's healthy. Yeah. So that's my take. I'll be able to tell you more in a few months, maybe, hopefully we can have me back on after I start seeing what my research is suggesting, at least from the patient side of things.
Yeah, well, you know how to get a hold of me. Anytime you want to come on, you just let me know.
Yeah. Let me get some data first, though.
Yeah. Now, I know that on the officiating side right now, you're kind of waist deep on the women's side with women's college wrestling and kind of that whole push. Talk a little bit about what's going on right now, what you're doing, and I know that I started to see stuff on your website, the USWA, of you're starting to pick refs and sanction things. So
yeah, it's been a good, it's good. It's been a good, process moving forward. Nah Hama from Texas has been doing a lot of good work, trying to corral all the coaches and the associations together, as far as NEI and NCAA, trying to, come to a common agreement of what the officiating side of things should look like. And so moving forward, USWA is going to have procedures for guys that want to be involved on the women's college wrestling officiating scene. And right now, as it sits, you got to be a category M2 or higher. Again, USWA, you start out when you sign up as an M3, then you go M2, M1C, and then M1. And then once you achieve your M1 status, then you can apply for your international license. I know Joey Schreiber had talked about it last week. And then you can get your international license, and then you got a few more steps to climb up if you want to do a world championship. And so you start out as a category 3 on the international side of things, then a 2, then a 1, and then the ultimate is the 1S, and that's your Olympic level officials.
He had said he felt like he went through like this whole thing to get to the top of his sport as a ref, and then all of a sudden he got put back at the bottom again because it's like you had to start at the international level. So yeah, he felt like I did all this work and now I'm back to being a rookie again.
Yeah, you go back to being a rookie, and then when you finally get overseas a few times, then you realize, like, you got a job to do, and it's important. And I'm not trying to scare anybody, but like it can be intense. Doing a world championship, I'll just tell you kind of what they do. Every morning you start out overseas. I know I'm kind of getting sidetracked. Every morning you start out overseas with a PowerPoint video of the good and bad from yesterday's calls. And you don't want to be on the bad side of things, because if you're on the bad side of things, they will sit you down for the entire day. And yeah, I had one of those I didn't get suspended last year, but I was on a crew that the chairman had gotten suspended just for a split-second call, pin right at the buzzer. And anyways, so, but that's beyond the point.
That's all right.
So sorry, we got kind of,
yeah, no worries.
yeah, kind of got sidetracked. But as far as women's college wrestling goes, you got to be an M2, and you got to attend an officials education program workshop. And those are typically held before the regional events or national events. So again, a Southern Plains, Northeast regionals, or a Northern Plains. Then they'll have them before Fargo and U.S. Open, generally at Vegas. And so, yeah, you have to attend one of those programs, and that's just part of the education standard that the NCAA and NEI is asking of our officials. And believe it or not, we've done better than other sports in establishing that criteria of this is the minimum. This is what we have to do. And then the other thing too is the video of the day that Tim Pearson does, our vice president of USWA, every day, where he's putting out on Facebook and then the USWA website. That video of the day is absolutely crucial, that people, go and watch it and see if they can score the situation, and then follow up the next day and see what actually probably should have been scored. So are you familiar with that, Dan, right?
I saw that on the website. I saw a section where you can ask the refs any questions you have.
Yeah.
I saw where you guys post separately, like question of the day stuff, where if people have any concerns. I have a question that I had just removed it, but I had it on for like the last 4 weeks because I knew that I would start to have some refs on, and I know Cipriano wants to come back on. He's just been busy transitioning with Disney, opening up again back to his full-time job. And I had a lot of people send me questions. So I have a spreadsheet I'm putting together right now to ask you guys, like all the refs and stuff, certain questions, because I got it from people signing up. They would write on there, what do you think of this? What call this? How do you call this? Why are things different here than there? And so it's a lot of good stuff that I'll get out to you guys.
Yeah, definitely. And not to brag on the USWA's part, but one of the things that makes USA Wrestling unique in the international eye is our educational system is top notch. We have some of the top officials in the entire world, and we have a lot of them. But our education system is well recognized across the world, and a lot of people. We have a lot of international officials from overseas, Europe and Asia, that will participate in those video of the days as well. But again, props to Tim and Sammy Julian and Rick Tucci and Danny Blackshear, Casey, Nick Kindred, all those board members all have their roles that they participate with, making sure that USA Wrestling stays a top-notch, wrestling country. And we're trying to do our part on the officiating side of things to make sure that we have the advantage, competitive advantage versus other countries.
Yeah, I think one of the big, I think this will go back to one of the big statements you said to me prior, is talking about developing young officials. And I think this will probably take you down that road. But yep. I think one of the questions I see a lot that was sent to me was, what is the vetting and accountability process for, the reffing community, all the way from youth all the way up to you, to a Mat 1, Category 1? What's the process where, how do you get, there's good and bad in everything. There's good and bad coaches, good and bad wrestlers, good and bad policemen, whatever, right? What's the vetting process to make sure that you get those bad eggs out, or you fix them, or you make sure that the you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So right now, I had a good conversation with Zach Dominguez about a week and a half ago. Zach's head of the coaches councils for USA Wrestling. And one of the things that they're working on, and then I also talked with Tom Queasley, who's one of the USWA board members from Minnesota. We have a very good relationship, both Tom Queasley and Zach and I, trying to get coaches to understand that everybody has a role and you have to respect the officials. I think sometimes in America, we get caught up. How can you, you're not giving me what I want. And the coaches have to understand that this is the call, this is what's going to be made, and we're moving forward. And it's important that coaches understand that they can't be unruly and disrespectful to the officials. And the officials generally, especially within USA Wrestling, every official has some sort of philosophy. And that's why we do the rules clinics before any of these national events, is the head official will, instruct the officials that are working the tournament, hey, this is how we're going to call it. And this is why we're going to call it. This is why I believe this call should be made. And that's hard for people to understand, because in the folk style, and this is just kind of a byproduct of the folk style world, high school folk style is very abstract. You got a case book from the National Federation and it shows you exact pictures. Well, sometimes there needs to be an element of gray that, in freestyle and Greco, because there's so many different things that can happen and there's so many different views. That's why we have 3-man mechanics. Sometimes it's very hard for coaches to understand that what you see from the corner might be a completely different angle than the judge sees or the chair sees. So, and sometimes too, there's also that element of, well, it could be a 2 or a 4, and I'm sitting at the judge and the official on the mat whistling, he put up a 4. Well, it could have been a 2, or maybe it might have been just a 1 for a step out. Well, I might provide one of those options so that my chair can be involved, and that chair may have a better view, and so I may do a call like that. So it's not always going to be abstract, and that's hard for coaches to understand. And then they go off on their tyrants, and ultimately they get a yellow card. One of the things that really bothers me, though, with a lot of these coaches is they think that a yellow card is free and they can just continue to bark and bark and bark, but they interrupt the match because they just want to argue. And these coaches have to understand that if they act like this and they go overseas, they're liable to put their country in the hole $10,000 with a fine, and then ultimately a suspension. And so the conduct of these coaches has to be improved, definitely, I think, domestically. So as far as freestyle and Greco goes, a lot of us that are doing it official wise, we don't get paid very well. I'll tell you that. And we do it because we love it. We love to volunteer. And, a lot of us on the freestyle and Greco scene are best friends, partly because we interact more with each other. And then we got to stay in hotel rooms at these tournaments, so we get to know each other even more. So that's what makes freestyle and Greco officiating very unique. Just because we try to strike up relationships with each other and get to know each other. Most of my friends are from. What was that, Dan?
There's a delay, and every time I think you stopped, it's a delay here. So I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Sure. Hopefully we have a strong enough internet connection out here in the Chequamegon National Forest to keep going strong. So, but what I was saying is, like, all the officials throughout the years, some of our best friends, within our family have been officiating friends. And it's just because you strike up that relationship at these national tournaments and you get to know one another just because you're around each other. So I don't know. I kind of went on another side rant.
That's okay. And, for people listening to this that might not know who Dr. Cody Gessel is, tell us about you, your career, and kind of your family background. I mean, you're not first generation at this. You've got several generations, and it's not, and you have a PhD in behavioral science and amongst other stuff. So you're probably making more money with your PhD than you are on the mat. And
yeah,
and so you're not a dummy, right? So people out there that are watching this saying, what's this guy's background in this sport?
So anyways, I was a decent wrestler. I don't really talk about my career anymore because it's not about me, nor any of my accomplishments. But I was a decent wrestler coming out of high school. And I got involved heavily with USA Wrestling after I had gone off to college. I came back, worked a couple summers. My dad had a general contracting company up here in Wisconsin, and I'd come back in the summers to work a job for my dad. And my parents only paid me like $7 or whatever it was an hour. And so when Wisconsin would send a team to any of the all-star dual tournaments, junior duels, schoolboy duels, cadet duels, and they would tag along a $500 stipend to go officiate, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Sure. And I was like, it's much better working than working for my dad and his workers, where I'd get abused and whatnot because I was the boss's son. But anyways, that's how I got involved. And those dual tournaments are awesome if your state provides a stipend to get those younger officials involved. And that's how I initially got involved. And so I graduated from UW Oshkosh back in 2008. And then I went out to Virginia Tech, tried to get into medical school, and initially had gotten accepted and then deferred for a year and then just went on a different path. I went and got my master's degree in public health from Western Illinois University in 2012. And then I worked for a year back here in Wisconsin at Marshfield Clinic, my first venture with Marshfield Clinic. And then some job cuts were going to happen. And I was just encouraged, hey, you should just go back, go get your PhD. And job cuts came, and I had been accepted back at Virginia Tech. So I had 2 stints at Virginia Tech. And so that brought me to 2014. And after my first year of my PhD, I do clinical weight loss trials or diabetes prevention. My advisor had said, well, I just got an offer and about a $40,000 increase to go and research at University of Nebraska Medical Center in Omaha. And you want to come? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll be back in the Midwest, although I was 8 hours from home, still from Omaha to northern Wisconsin. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So after my second year of my PhD at Virginia Tech, I transferred with him to the University of Nebraska Medical Center. And I finished my PhD last fall at actually about this time. Actually, I graduated this weekend last year.
Oh, congratulations.
And so, yeah, thank you. And my dissertation was on health literacy changes in a technology-enhanced diabetes prevention program, to which I'm still trying to get published for, but we had some pretty significant findings using some different patient education methods. And then, so I left Omaha September 30th, and then I worked for a month with my dad doing construction. We built Ben and Max Askren's dad and their stepmom's new house in the Driftless region of Wisconsin, about 3 hours south of here in the Schwamigan. And my contract with Marshfield Clinic started last November. So I've been working as an epidemiologist now for what is that, 8 months, 9 months, whatever it was. So that's kind of how it went. But every step along the journey, I always look to be involved with the sport. So when I went out to Virginia Tech, I was helping out Tim Pearson and Mike Swisher and Jim Deal and those guys out in Virginia. And there's always a tournament, 5-6 hours away, and I wasn't afraid to get in my car and just go officiate wherever it was because I just wanted to see my friends. And then when I moved to Omaha in 2016, I struck up a relationship with Zach Dominguez and Skinny Wilcox, or Zach, aka Skinny Wilcox, and MWC. They'd just been hungry in Nebraska. They needed some help getting officiating going in Nebraska. Nebraska is they're a strong folk style state, not so much freestyle and Greco, but I know Zach Dominguez is changing things there. And so Zach and I and Skinny formed a relationship, and we found a way to just get people involved. When I moved to Nebraska, they hadn't had an M1 official in 32 years. And so, I mean, they didn't have that voice of freestyle and Greco officiating, and they needed to get a voice. So one of the things that, we kind of joked about it at first when I first moved to Omaha, like, how are you going to get things going? They don't have anything. And I'm like, I'll find a way. And luckily with Zach Dominguez and Skinny, we just had to create opportunities. And Skinny at the time was coaching at Midland University. And I'm like, hey, let's get some matches. Let's get your MWC guys some matches. And we invited Terry Pack and Legends of Gold down from Beresford, and Lucas Stelt and his club from Combat here in Wisconsin. And so we created some matches. We had some fall exhibition matches. I think we tried to get every kid about 5 to 6 matches. And so we combined it with their women's college open, and I got officials in, and we did 3-man mechanics. And that's the beauty about freestyle and Greco officiating, is the 3-man mechanics. You got buffers. If you think you made the bad call, and you're just starting out as an official, if you think you made the bad call, well, you got 2 other guys to help you out. So one of the things that I prescribed to was getting 66 or 75% M1s, and then the rest would be developmental officials that I'm trying to get going in Nebraska. And we would do 3-man mechanics, and it all worked out. Now, Zach's tournament, Dominguez's MWC's Freco Open, I believe he changed it to the Cristo Cup this year. That's the only consistent freestyle and Greco tournament that they have within their state before their state tournament. So with that event, luckily, they've prescribed to a pretty liberal budget and trying to get the best officials to come in, to get the best programs and clubs involved, and then also look to develop officials. So that was an important event, and just getting officials going is always a challenge. But I always tried to strike up a relationship with all of my officials that I'm either mentoring.
I had a visitor there for a while. She just likes to come when she.
No, I thought about. I don't know if you follow me on Facebook. Obviously, I've been posting a lot of puppy pictures lately. So, I had a litter of, or I should say, we had a litter of Labrador puppies, yellow labs.
I saw them. They looked really cute.
Yeah, they are. They are cute, but they're all leaving this weekend. All of their new owners are picking them up.
You didn't keep any of them?
No. I think 4 dogs is enough right now. So, yeah, I would love to, but yeah, they're all cute, and they're all going to go to their new homes this weekend. So.
Oh, that's good. Is that, I always wondered, people like yourself who breed animals, whatever, have a puppy litter or something, like, I know the animals can't just have the animal and then you give it away. It's got to be with the mother for a certain amount of time, which means
the socialization is important.
So which means it's got to be with you for a certain amount of time. Like, how do you, like, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, but we raise a litter once every year to 2 years, and we've been doing it for 25 years. So I don't get attached to the puppies. Sometimes I scream and holler. Actually, last Friday, two of the puppies, we never had this happen, but two of the puppies climbed up a metal drainage pipe from where our drain tile goes out from our house out into, an open area. Anyways, they climbed up a metal drainage pipe 20 feet long. And we had to go get my neighbor's backhoe. Luckily, my neighbor has a backhoe. We had to go get a backhoe and lift the pipe out of the ground to get the puppies out. And when they came out, they were like, obviously anxious and a little bit wild, but we had to just calm them down and coax them and make them believe in life. But they were stuck in that pipe for a couple hours. Luckily, my intuition, yeah, it was really weird. Dr. Pole. So as we joke about, so
that's awesome.
We got them out and we saved them and everything, but so I'm ready to see them go. Although I love the puppies, they got to go to their new homes. So
I think every once in a while when I want to show the cat, will come over because I have the computer on like a wooden desk, and I think the speaker might like shake it a little bit. You know how animals like that little vibration. So I think she comes and hangs out for a little bit, watches the show, and then she goes back to her corner.
And what's cat's name?
Nolly. So
Nolly.
We've had her for years now. So the reason it was named Nolly is because my kids, we go up once a year to Colorado to snowboard. And younger one, his favorite move is a nollie. I'm being told it's a backwards nollie. So when we had the cat, he said, I want to name it my favorite snowboarding move, nollie. So that's the history.
Oh, okay, sure. Sure.
The name. But
we had the owners we all adopt the owner's choice of names. And so there was a Bella, there was an Oakley, there was a Casey in this litter. I don't remember all the 9 names, but so we had some interesting names that people picked out.
Cool. Well, sorry about our little visitor, but
it's cool.
I know there was another. I know there might have been a few more things you wanted to talk about. What's something that I know you spoke about women's developing young officials, women in wrestling and refereeing, your career a little bit. I think you wanted to talk a little bit about, was it like I don't know. I forget. You mentioned something about maybe yellow cards or something.
We talked a little bit about that. I mean, coaches just have to be a little bit more respectful and just understand that every official has a philosophy, and you have to respect that philosophy. And like I said, the head official, when they're in charge, they're in charge. You call it the way that they call it. Classic example, last year at Cadet Worlds, they wanted to try something. The committee, the UWW Bureau was there. And so they wanted to try calling passivities in Greco, wait until the second period to call it. And that's the way that we had to do it at that tournament, because they wanted to try and see how it changed the dynamic of the match. And that was relayed to the head official, and the head official said, this is how we're going to call it, and that's how it has to go. And that, again, it can be challenging for coaches to understand that it's not black and white. It can, there's got to be an element of gray, and you got to respect those officials. That is just, bar none, that is, I see it all the time from these coaches. They just, I'll give a classic example. My brother writes, he's one of the guys that writes the rule book for USA Wrestling. And one of our world team coaches started arguing about a call. This was at Northern Plains when we had the World Team Challenge tournament there. And there was one time I was one of the head officials for the Northern Plains portion, not the World Team portion. And then my brother was working the World Team Challenge tournament. And one of our world team coaches was like, no, that's not the call. And like, yes, that is the rule. And then I brought over my brother, and my brother had to tell this coach, no, this is how it is. And he kept arguing. And my brother eventually had to say, hey, I write the rule book. I know what the rule is.
You think?
I mean, but sometimes these coaches just don't understand. Like, it was kind of just one of those silly moments that we had to have. I still respect the coach. I shake his hand, and I like to, talk with him whenever I get a chance to at these tournaments. So, but again, coaches overseas, you can't pull any shenanigans. The classic example is that Mongolian coach. Why did that Mongolian coach go off? Well, he didn't agree with the call, but at the same time, he can't do that. You can't stomp and create a tirade on the mat. And it was important for that country, though, because they hadn't had a medalist ever. So, they were hungry for just a medal. Well, unfortunately, when you create a tirade like that, there's going to be consequences. And coaches have to understand that, coming down the pipeline, there may be more consequences if coaches act. And that's the beauty about Safe Sport right now, is if they get out of line, well, there's consequences, and you're going to have to speak with the Safe Sport lawyer from USA Wrestling if it gets out of hand and a claim has to be made.
And of course, on the devil's advocate side, if a coach is saying, well, what's done to the other side, if you have somebody on your side of the mat that's just always unruly, disrespectful to the referee.
And that's
in that kind of
the
situation.
other thing too is, and we have to police ourselves even within the USWA. I'm not saying us officials have to, watch each other too. Just because if we get out of line, then somebody's got to call it out. We're held responsible. So on both parties, coaches and officials, we've got to police ourselves.
Yep.
So
makes sense. All right.
Anyways,
I've got my 10 questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, I hope they're Wisconsin related, right?
A little bit.
I listened to the questions you asked Schreiber.
Yeah. I got Wisconsin, and I've got some reffing stuff, because that's what you do. And
sure. Yeah, whatever floats your boat, I'm all a game. Let's do it.
I got it. So, bratwurst or sausage?
Bratwurst, definitely on the Traeger. I tell you what, I'd gotten my parents a Traeger grill for Father's Day / their 48th wedding anniversary. That's in September, and my dad's 70th birthday, and I love it. I love it. I love bratwurst on the smoker.
Yeah, my dad's got one of those. He loves it too. All right, so when you're reffing, do you prefer a freestyle match or a Greco match?
I'm weird. I shouldn't say I'm weird. I'm that. I would rather do a Greco match. This is weird to describe. I get a good feeling when I'm in the right position, and I lower my levels to see either a nice throw, or even in freestyle, a nice double leg takedown that gets elevated up in the air and lands in danger. I really like to just flow with the move as the action is going, and then see it as it lands. So with Greco, I can usually predict very strongly which direction they're going to go based upon my knowledge of the technique. And then I just like to see how it lands in danger. So I definitely lower my levels and see it, straight line vision sort of thing.
Awesome.
And I'm weird like that. I just like making those calls.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Hey, everybody's got their thing, right? All right. How about booyah or beer soup?
Beer soup. My mom makes the best beer cheese fish soup. And it sounds a little bit weird, but it's a hit. we do, or my family has a odd tradition that we've been doing for 35 years now, as old as I am. We have a mystery exotic game feed. So my dad has over the years got a different cut of meat. We've had kangaroo, we've had bear, elk, moose. What else have we had over the zebra? So we get a different cut of meat, and we invite all of our families, our neighbors down, and we split off into families, and we go one clue at a time, guessing what the mystery exotic game meat is.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool.
So, anyways, every game feed, it's always the Friday before opening weekend in Wisconsin. If you know deer hunting in Wisconsin, it's like a religious holiday. It's serious. But we have this game feed the Friday before gun deer season. And like I said, we get about 40 or so people at our house, and one of the dishes is that beard cheese fish soup.
Oh, that sounds fun. All right. So
Yeah.
reffing college or reffing international?
More pressure overseas. by far, because you just don't know what matches you're going to get and what kind of, how it's going to go. Women's college is a little bit more laid back, more collegial. I admire all of our women's coaches. It's not easy running a women's college program just because they have so much to travel, and there's so much going on in the girls' lives, and they're going through college, and those coaches have to, corral all the girls in and keep them in line. So every women's college tournament that I do or dual, I usually hear one or two things going on with the team. But either way, I like the women's college scene and just the atmosphere, and the tournaments are much easier to officiate.
All right. Fish boil or pickled herring?
Pardon? Say that one more time.
Fish boil or pickled herring?
Pickled herring. I'll tell you what, my dad, when we have friends over, that's definitely one of the appetizers that's always on the table before the main meal is pickled herring for sure. And then we'll catch a northern or two on our lake that we live on, and we'll pickle that every once in a while. So it's always an appetizer that we have here.
Oh, sounds good. All right. Schoolboy or high school?
Schoolboy.
School.
I gravitate to freestyle and Greco. The reason I gravitate to freestyle and Greco is it's just a better atmosphere. The coaches are a little bit, they're not as jumpy as folk style. I think that's partly due to because folk style is a control orientated style. I don't know if you've ever heard this sort of analogy, but again, folk style, you see the coaches get really uptight and anxious and whatnot, and they're always fighting for their wrestlers. And you don't see that so much in freestyle and Greco just because it's technique based, and you got to have a short memory in freestyle Greco. You can score a 4-point maneuver, well, in 5 seconds later, the other guy could score a 4-point maneuver. So I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but that's my observation.
I like it. All right.
Does it make sense, Dan?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Makes great sense. Frozen custard or Blue Moon?
Are we talking Culver's frozen custard?
Yeah, sure.
That's a Wisconsin brand. I gotta give a shout out. We just opened up a Culver's in my hometown here, so it's kind of the big thing. So definitely Culver's frozen custard, but there's a lot of good frozen custard places that are around Wisconsin for sure.
I think I know the answer here.
Yeah.
Reffing men's or reffing women's?
Oh boy, both.
All right, push.
I don't have a preference. I like doing both. And if I say one thing or other, I could get chastised. I really enjoy just being around good freestyle and Greco wrestling.
All right. Well, then I think I know the answer to this one. Do you
Yeah.
prefer reffing the 32 or the Fargo?
Oh, I've never done Super 32. I haven't been invited to do that. I know they started a women's freestyle division uh, a couple of years ago, but Fargo, um, and just because everybody, if you like Jason Bryant, he's a classic example. He's got connections to the Herd and Horns and then the turf. That's something they pride themselves on. Well, I'm from the Midwest, and every time that I stop in Fargo, I'm going to stop at the turf, and it's just because Fargo creates those connections for coaches and officials of both.
That's
So
awesome. All right, so last one for dessert. If I messed this word up, I'm sorry. Profiterole or Kringle?
Kringle, Wisconsin born, Wisconsin bred. Kringle. If you're from Racine, you know what Kringle is, man. And it always goes well with a cup of coffee in the morning if you have a ring of Kringle. So every once in a while, yeah, I gotta have Kringle.
That's awesome. Hey man, so yeah, once you get through some of your stuff, come on back on. Give me
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we could talk a little bit. Whatever science related or whatever we see in COVID up at least up here. So, and how is that affecting? I'm collaborating right now with a study with one of the UW Madison sports medicine researchers. He's well known up here, Tim McGuine. And we're gonna try getting a study going how COVID-19 has affected sports participation and the anxiety and mental health of athletes from all sports. And I really hope that we get sports back and going again. That would just be awesome. It doesn't have to just be wrestling. Baseball, basketball, track, whatever. I just want to see sports going again. And I sure hope that they don't shut down the MLB or pro baseball season. I really hope that we can get sports back going again, but we also have to be cognizant of safety and health, and that's important, absolutely important. So,
let's see. Well, I'm glad there's good people like you out there trying to get it figured out.
Yeah, and let's hope.
Yes, sir.
I'm just one voice. I would hope that there's other people trying to figure solutions out. So. And again, and as we move forward, getting going again, I just hope that we can find solutions and, we can curb the prevalent or incidence rate of COVID-19.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. Again, it was an absolute honor having you on. Thank you for.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dan. It was a pleasure. I wish you well, and I really admire your platform. I can't state that enough. You got a wide range of people that are coming on and talking about the sport, and I think that's important as we grow wrestling across the country. It's important, that especially some of these underserved areas, like my experiences in Nebraska, and it's important that we all work together. Coaches and officials alike. And that's what made my relationship with Skinny Wilcox and Zach Dominguez so special throughout these years, is they acknowledged my role and I acknowledged their role. And I love some of the programs that they're doing at MWC, even like up in Beresford with Coach Pack and Legends of Gold. They're doing some amazing things just because they're thinking outside the box. And that's what the sport really needs. And I admire your interviews just because you get people thinking outside that box.
Good. Well, thank you. Well,
thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I appreciate the kind words, and thanks for the support, and you have a great day.
Yeah, you too, Dan. Have a good day.